Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to watch, aka or slash listen to another episode of What Else Is Going On podcast. I am your girl, your host, Taria, and we are going to get into the latest episode of The Real Housewives of Potomac. I don't normally say outside of New York, Roni, I don't normally say like, oh, this episode is boring or I needed more drama because I'm one where I don't need like drama on episodes because it makes my stomach like, you know what I mean? So I don't mind. Normally, I don't mind like filler episodes, stuff like that. This one did seem like it dragged. I think that's what it did. It wasn't even that it was filler. It seemed like it just dragged on, but we gonna get into it. So first up, we start out at Gizelle's $900,000 tear down. Shout out to my good sis Candace. She calls the girls in, Angel, Adore, and Grace, and she asked the twins how was work, and one of them was like, "It is terrible." She then asked them if they said if they didn't need the money, they would quit. She asked them if they were excited about leaving for school. They say yes, and they were like, "Not, we're not excited about leaving you, but we're excited about leaving for school." In her confessional, she says the twins are just doing it. Angel graduated with a 4.2 and Adore graduated with a 3.9, and now they're about to leave and go off to college. She said they're fourth generation HBCU on Jamal's side. She said, so y'all can talk about whatever you want to say about my kids. And they flash back to Mia saying, oh, Gizelle's kids snuck somebody into the house. And she says, but they're doing the things, y'all. They're doing the things. So then she talks to them about her father's will. So she tells them that basically her dad had a will, and somehow, some way, somebody must have thrown it in the trash. And right after his surgery, and I'm assuming it's brain surgery because he died of brain cancer, right? Right after his surgery, someone basically signed a will, supposedly. Gizelle said he didn't sign it because he didn't even have the capacity to hold a pen. She said, as a matter of fact, I was with him after the surgery. Like there was no way he could have signed it. She was there. So she's in court to have this will thrown out. If she's successful, and because they don't know where the other one is, if she's successful and this will gets thrown out, that means he died without a will. And that means in the state of Georgia, his children get 2/3 of the estate. But in the fraudulent will that someone allegedly signed, because again, she said her dad was in no condition to sign that will, they wouldn't get anything. She says, and basically the kids wouldn't get anything and the grandkids wouldn't exist. So she talked about how painful it is and she doesn't want to have to go through that. And she knows that her dad didn't want her to have to go through that. And it makes her not want to basically get married um, again, because that, like, what if something happened to her and her kids were left in that situation? Her saying that is what made me think it was a spouse of his. And I meant to Google this. Was Curtis Graves married? So it looks like, yeah, he was married. He was married to a woman named Kay Bryant. Wait, I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. That might be. Oh yeah, yeah. He later married Kay Bryant. Yes. So I don't know if that's who Gizelle's talking about because people were speculating. Well, is she talking about his other kids, which would probably Gizelle's siblings because she has a brother and a sister. But the way she said, if she can get the fraudulent will thrown out, then that would mean, because again, the other will disappeared, that would mean he died without a will. And in the state of Georgia, uh, the children get 2/3. So at least they would get something, her and her siblings. So yeah, I'm thinking it was a spouse or something like that. It's a shame that she even has to go through this. But so she says because of that, she doesn't want to get married again. Um, so one of her daughters asked, can't you guys put in like legal paperwork? So basically, if something does happen to you, money can't be taken from us. Gizelle says yes. And she said, Jamal's getting ready to get married. So she talked to him and he said that he put everything for the girls in a trust and that a trust cannot be superseded. So no will, none of that. can supersede a trust. In her confessional, she says, y'all know that family is number one with me, and family also includes my children's father. So if he's going to do things differently in his life, if he's going to take on wives, we're going to have conversations which protect the children. She tells the girls, so I don't want anyone to ever have the ability to take anything from you guys. One of her daughters says, I understand what you're saying, but I feel like if you find someone that you want to get married to and you want to get married to them, couldn't you just do the same thing that dad did and put it in a trust? And Gizelle said, I don't be trusting these people out here. She started laughing and she was like, all right, bye, like to the girls. Y'all, this next scene pisses me off. And not because of what maybe some would think that I'm pissed off with TJ for how he's treating Stacy. No, I'm pissed off that TJ and Stacy think we're stupid because I think they're in on it. So we're at Stacy's crash pad. TJ and Stacy are at the crash pad. He wants to make her lunch, pretend that they're at an Italian restaurant. He pulls a satin bonnet out of a cabinet in her kitchen. Okay. And he puts it on. He starts talking like with an Italian accent. In her confessional, Stacy says, he's so crazy. And then this is the way she says it. I don't even wear a satin bonnet, but that's why I love him. He just makes me laugh. I mean, who does that? Since he doesn't drink alcohol, he then pours them juice out of a sippy cup into a wine glass. He says, so he says, so I know you've been stressed so much. Um, I know you've been stressed a lot. And with Wendy's party, it felt like it was stressful, not just for you, but for me. And she said, stressful for you. He says, yeah, because I was like an Uber date. We got into the party, you were holding my hand, and then you were off, but you never checked back in with me. Stacy said, I don't necessarily think that's fair. They do a flashback to the party. They arrive, she's with the girls, and then you see the men, because the men of these shows know the shows are about their wives. So when they're at a party all filming, the men go in one group, the wives go in another. Come on. But maybe TJ didn't know that because maybe Stacy didn't know. I don't know. Maybe she just assumed he knew. But anyway, so they show him going off with the men. He says to her, I'm gonna let you do what you do, and I'm gonna be over here. Then they show the flashback of him getting upset with her and saying, don't put your hands on me. And saying that you came to hang out with everybody but me, child. Back in the scene, Stacy says, where were you? Who were you even talking to? And he says, everybody but you, apparently. She says, I'm sorry, but it just seemed like it was one thing after another. So TJ says, for 4 hours, Stacy said, I said, I'm sorry. He says, I know. And she says, it will never happen again. I apologize. He says, okay. So in her confessional, Stacy says, because TJ and I are just starting to go out in public, we're going to have some road bumps. All of the other boyfriends and husbands were there. Basically, she wanted to say they were there. They know the game. They show a flashback to him talking to Ray about the first ever computer invented. No, I'm just kidding. She said, I honestly thought TJ would be fine hanging out with the boys. He makes their pizza. Y'all, were they little tomatoes on the top? See, I'm a sauce girl, so I love the sauce and the crust and just maybe a little bit of cheese. So I was just wondering, like, and I noticed that Stacy put salt on hers. But anyway, he makes their pizza and cuts it in half and starts eating. He says, so mediation, have you given any thought into hiring a forensic accountant? She says, no. And he says, no. And she says, no, I haven't. He says, so how long do you go? Yep, I'm going to take this bottle. You can have that. And I like this. Meaning, how long are you going to go? You take that, I take this. You take that, I take this. Stacy says, I believe it'll be 3 appointments. And he says 3. She said, yeah, but nothing is set in stone. In her confessional, she says, I shared a little bit about the meeting with him, but not too much because I'm very much aware that my divorce is between my husband and me. And TJ doesn't have anything to do with it. He's never been married. So there's only so much he really understands. She then tells him, the lady said to me, they don't necessarily think it's a good thing for us to move forward romantically. He says, what? The lady said that? And she says, yeah, they said it would be a mistake to get into another serious relationship after having been married for 16 years. So they show a flashback to the ladies, and they're basically telling her, girl, you need to hump everything in sight before you get back into another serious relationship. You know, spread it wide and lay. What did Mama Evelyn say? Spread it wide and laid it low, or laid it low and spread it wide, something like that. So TJ said, I get that. But listen, I'm not offended by what they said at all. Here's my take on it. Divorce is traumatic because it's a loss. I don't necessarily think that sex with people you don't care about fixes that. Now, I get what he's saying. Some people say the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody. Maybe. But there are some people that I think we as humans, maybe if you're hot blooded in nature or just like sex or think that sex is a very important part of a relationship, you think that everyone is like that. Whereas some couples that might like when people say about marriage, as soon as they hear a marriage breaks up, they say, oh, he must have cheated. And it's like, well, maybe it was financial infidelity, or maybe they just weren't compatible anymore. Or maybe, you know what I mean? Everything doesn't always boil back down to sex. And he has said, um, that he's waiting for marriage. That's what he has said in the past. I just don't like the way he says things to her. Again, even though I think they're both playing in our faces, it's one thing for him to say, look, I know you're going through a divorce. We're seeing each other, not seeing each other, best friends, not dating, what have you. I want to be with you, but I don't want to have sex yet. I'm really, really trying hard. But he doesn't even give any indication about wanting her. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with him saying sex doesn't necessarily fix that. For some people, it could complicate it. They can't just have random casual sex, hop on everything. Everybody's not built for tough like that, y'all. Okay. But anyway, Stacy says, would you continue this journey if I did see other people? Child, y'all see his Adam apple jump? I said, was it saying, no, this ain't part of the play. This wasn't part of the script. But anyway, he said, I would still care about you, but I wouldn't close myself off to other options. Stacy said, you don't even want to sleep with me. See, she immediately went to sex. Again, I'm just saying, yes, the sexual world. That's not everybody's first go-to. So outside of TJ, I can see someone being like, I'm really trying. I've been celibate. It's hard for me to keep my hands off you. But again, he's not even saying that. He's like, I'm zero. Remember when they met with the fitness trainer and she was like on a scale of 1 to 0 or whatever. And he basically was like M or Z or something like, no, I don't want to sleep with you. It's like, okay, now no, I'm trying to be celibate is one thing, but I don't want to sleep with you. That's something totally different. Anyway, she says, you don't even want to sleep with me. TJ said, sex was never casual with me. I never did that. I'm not sleeping with you unless I have a committed relationship. I said, that's interesting because before it was, he didn't want to sleep with anybody if he wasn't married to them. The wording is different. Now he's saying committed relationship. Okay. I want to help you because I care about the situation, but I know it wasn't great or easy. But if I'm only doing it till I can get you, then I'm just as fake as everybody else. Stacy says, there's a part of me that wants to hear you say, like, no, I want to be with you. I would vomit or melt into a puddle of tears if I saw you with someone else. TJ said, well, why do you think I would be like, oh, okay. I didn't say it wouldn't bother me. Sweetie, if I really love and care about you, then I want to be good for you. And then you see me for who I am. Stacy said, so you want me to choose you. TJ said, I would like you to, but you don't have to. That's the thing that's irritating about him. This woman is saying, I want you to want me. I want to know that you want me. Let me know. Stacy says, so you want me to choose you? Instead of him saying, yes, baby, I want you to choose me. I would like you to, but you don't have to. Why you got to add that last part in there? I know I don't have to. That is duh. I have a choice. Why can't you just say, yes, baby, I want you to choose me? Or yes, Stacy, I want you to choose me. When Stacy says you don't even want to sleep with me, he never said, I want to sleep with you, but I'm really trying to abstain until we get into a committed relationship. All he says is, sex was never casual with me. I never did that. I'm not sleeping with you unless I'm in a committed relationship. She didn't ask, why won't you sleep with me? She said, you don't even want to sleep with me. He didn't even deny that. I'm sick of them. I still like Stacy, but a part of me is irritated because I don't believe Stacy is this slow. I feel like they came in with this plan. That's what I'm gonna say, because ain't no way. Again, I'm not saying ain't no way a man doesn't want to be celibate, doesn't want to wait until she's completely divorced. That's not what I'm saying. This man don't seem like he's interested in her at all. And we're going to leave it at that. Next up, Wendy and her sister. Wendy Osefo, please report to the What Else Is Going On podcast media room for a conversation. I don't understand why I had to watch you in this dress in a beautiful shade of blue with Popeye the Sailor Man arms. It didn't matter what angle Wendy was. I felt that it affronted me. I felt attacked by these sleeves. I kept looking at them when I didn't want to. These Michelin Man arms. Now, maybe she was repping somebody like a designer. I don't know. Those arms were so distracting. And I want to know what she saw when she saw it. Like, you ever wish you could be in somebody's mind and say, I wonder how they see it? Even myself, I thought I looked a certain way in clothes. And then when I saw pictures, I was like, oh, that's not what I saw when I left the house. I want to know what Wendy saw when she left. Okay. Anyway, let's move on because that dress it distracted me the entire scene. Wendy says, so Wendy and her sister arrive at the restaurant. Wendy says, how are you doing? How's work? I said, oh, this is a setup so Ivy could ask her. Okay, got it. Ivy says, work is good. How's work with you? And Wendy says, what work? So basically Ivy's like, Wendy said, so how should I talk to mom? And Ivy was like, what conversation are you having? Wendy said, I haven't told her I've resigned. They show a flashback of Wendy telling Eddie that she resigned and that she didn't tell her mom. Ivy says, you ain't told her and you brought me here. Child, Miss Susan arrived. She already looked like something is irritating her. Like just off the bat, Miss Susan has lost some weight though. I saw it all in her face, but she came in looking like she was irritated. In her confessional, Wendy says, first of all, Wendy looks like a goddess. She looks good. That white on her and or cream and that red hair, she has it going on. So Wendy looks good. She says in the Nigerian culture, you only have three options: a doctor, a lawyer, and if you're feeling really adventurous, you can be an engineer. She said, I know some of the things that I've decided to do have been unconventional. However, we are exploring other options because we can. So they all go find a seat and they order some drinks. And Wendy went. So they're ordering drinks, right? Her mom immediately starts saying grace because, her mom says grace over the alcohol they drink, over whatever they drink, and over the food. But none of that was on the table yet. Wendy's mom starts saying the grace. Wendy turns around to the waitress to add something onto the order. So then her mom did not like that, honey. So after Wendy tells the waitress what else they're going to order and that they're going to share it, Wendy apologizes to her mom and her mom says, how rude. And then she finishes her prayer. Then her mom says, I wish you wouldn't have interrupted. I said, Lord. So Wendy said, the last time I saw you guys was at my 40th birthday party. Did y'all have a good time? Ivy says, we did. It was fun. Wendy says, I'm just so glad that the party was able to bring us together in that way. And Ivy says that's major. So I'm wondering if they were talking about Eddie's family and that part was just cut out. So Wendy says to her mom, Mom, I have something I'm going to tell you. Miss Susan says, what? Almost like, child, what? She says, what? You're pregnant? And Ivy says, I need to exit this chat. Can I exit this chat? Wendy says, no. Then she says, so. To her mom, I know we've talked for a while and I've often told you about how I'm looking at the possibility or the opportunity to try new things and not to do things because I feel like I have to. So with that being said, I want you to know that and then she reaches her hand out to her mom and Miss Susan Child just looks at her hand like this. If y'all are watching, y'all can see. And so Ivy says, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Because I'm getting ahead of myself. Ivy says, hold her hand to her mom. So they grab hands. Wendy says, I just want to let you know that I recently resigned from my position at my university. I felt like she was getting ready to say Johns Hopkins, but then she rolled it back and said my university. Child, Miss Susan said, are you crazy? Are you crazy? And Wendy just looked at her. Miss Susan said, so dramatic. I just lost my appetite. Where is the waiter? You resigned from your university to go where, child? Wendy said it's not about to go. It's not about go. It's not about to go where. Ivy says, tell her you're playing, like tell her you're playing. Wendy says, I want to focus on spending time with my kids and her talk show. Mom, me resigning from my position doesn't mean I'm no longer a doctor. I still have my 4 degrees. Maybe, Mom, I'll find a part time position at another university. Susan says, I've always bragged about my kids and I stand by it, but right now I am so lost. When she said, I always bragged about my kids, I thought she was going to say, now I can't even say my daughter is a professor, blah, 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 blah. Wendy says she felt like she was being tolerated and not appreciated. Susan says, I don't want you guys to be chained and be stuck in one place. If you're not satisfied, move on. You have all the credentials. I bless you, and all the doors will open for you in Jesus' name. Amen. I took that for myself. I said, all doors will open for me. That's right, Taria, in Jesus' name. Amen. And my family. In her confessional, Wendy says, I know some of the things I decided to do have been unconventional, like selling the devil's lettuce, aka weed, and the Dr. Wendy show. You can be who you want to be, not who your parents want you to be. And I love that. Wendy then says to her mom, well, why didn't we start with that? And Wendy tells her mom, thank you. Wendy says she wants to go where she's celebrated, not just tolerated. Part of me wonders, because Wendy is now a part-time professor at Wesleyan College, and isn't that in Boston? Part of me wonders if Wendy's contract wasn't going to be renewed with Johns Hopkins. Did she get a heads up? The show and all of these other things, and how, 2 seasons ago, when it wasn't Wendy's fault, when Mia assaulted her, and on the screen it says Johns Hopkins is not affiliated, condone, blah, 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 all that stuff. Did she get a heads up that her contract might not be renewed? And so she quit them before they quit her. Because is she traveling to Boston? Or maybe it's because she's teaching about, basically reality TV and how it intersects with real life. Sort of like that's what my podcast talks about. But anyway, which I think will be a really interesting class, but in Boston, or maybe she does it online. But anyway, I was just wondering. We're going to speed through this like they sped through the dating. Ashley and Gizelle arrive at their speed dating event in white. Gizelle says, what if we like the same guy? If I like a guy, I want to let you know, like, don't even try it. Gizelle, you don't have to worry about you and Ashley liking the same man. We have seen your type. Jamal Bryant, Sherman, and now the guy, Namza. You and Ashley don't like the same. Next caller. So Ashley's friend Brant is an event planner, and he set it up. In her confessional, Ashley says, it's been really hard for me to take the leap of faith and proceed with my divorce. Now I'm really looking for somebody who has those qualities that could really be a life partner for me. Someone who is family oriented, who understands the idea of responsibility and commitment. Someone who's very attractive, well endowed, and I'm owning it on these qualities now. I said, okay. Child, they speed date. Ashley ends up meeting a guy she likes named Josh, and Gizelle likes a gentleman named Namza. Now we're at Karen and Ray's house. Ray is out back by the pool, and he's watching his new pool toy. Not a person, but a little electronic thing in the bottom of the pool cleaning it. Karen says, I come bearing lemonade. Child, I thought she had margaritas in a glass, like the little ready-made. I buy that. I thought she had that in a glass. So Karen says, I've been sitting. So they sit down. Let's sit down. Ray. Child, my brother's name is Ray. And when he was little, my mom called him that, Ray. Child, so they sit down. Karen says, no, I have that in my notes. Child, I thought it was a margarita in a glass. Anyway, they sit down. Karen says, I've been waking up every morning since the accident, because I find that I have that quiet time to reflect on everything that I'm going through. And I realized that I was an emotional wreck that night. It made me reflect because I was so angry with you. After the accident and the anger I experienced, I didn't know if our marriage was going to make it. This is after the accident. Let me see. And in her confessional, Karen says, I felt a lack of support from Ray prior to the accident, and it just bubbled over. They show a flashback from 2020 of the relationship coach, because remember, Ray didn't want to see a therapist, so a relationship coach asking Ray, are you in love with Karen? And he says, I think I am. Back in her confessional, she says, I feel today he's listening. They show a flashback to her court date, and Ray is there to support her. She said, Ray is going above and beyond to reciprocate what I did for him in the past. Child putting out that money for that lawyer. They show a flashback of him walking into court with her the day she had court. And then they show a flashback of Gizelle talking to Ashley, saying she had no idea that the $5 million tax situation was happening. Then they show a flashback, meaning Karen had no idea. Then they show a flashback of Ashley asking Karen, so are you going to stay with Ray throughout this whole process? Karen says, why would I not? In her confessional, Karen says, that is what creates a great institution. Ray says, I feel like I've been trying to be extra supportive of you in this situation. And actually, I've sort of been your taxi cab a little bit here too, driving you around. And then he laughs. I don't think Karen really liked that a lot. They show a flashback of him, like he must have driven her somewhere and they're arriving. She asked him something about being out in the cold. He says, so that you don't have to get behind the wheel at this point. Are they going to present that to the judge like she hasn't been driving, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, or does he have to drive her? Because isn't there like you can get, your license suspended, get a breath of like, well, actually, she's still in the case. So yeah. She says, I know. She says, again, I can't say how grateful I am, but I don't think we can ever take our marriage for granted again. He said, it's the simple things. Karen says, we've taken some hits. Ray says, it's been a long time. That's what happens. Karen says, it's been 28 years in September. I said, they got a September anniversary too. Ray and Karen got 5 years on me because mine at that time was getting ready to be 23 years in September because that was earlier this year, I think, right? Karen says, and I haven't aged a day. Ray said, I don't know what happened to me. Karen says, you look good. In her confessional, Karen says, our marriage is not perfect, but we work on it. And when it's losing a few bricks and mortar, I said, okay, we repair it. We just fight for it. And our friendship and our love for one another brings us through. And we're in a good place now. She tells Ray, I love you, babe. Give me a kiss. And they kiss. Child, we see Kay arriving to meet Mia at this cafe. Mia is on speakerphone with Gordon saying, I think it's important for us to talk through things. It's really refreshing. And I just hope that it can stay that way. He said, I'm not going to go backwards. It's only going to get better. So he's talking and Mia says, I'm sorry, give me a second, gets up and greets Kay. Mia says, are you coming from camp? Because Kay has on her little polo and her little khaki pants. I believe she had on khaki pants, I think. Mia tells Gordon that Kay just arrived and she's going to go. So she'll give him a call later. He says, I appreciate you. And she says, I appreciate you as well, Gordon. Thank you. Talk soon. She hangs up and Kay is like, oh my gosh. Basically, Mia, she hangs up. She tells the waiter, I'll have what she's having, meaning what Mia's having the drink. Because they're at like looks like a tea coffee shop, some type thing, with sugar. So then Mia says, oh my God, you look so cute. Or Kay says, you look cute. Mia says, you look cute. Okay, tell me where you're coming from. Kay says, straight from out of the office, and I'm here for you today. So tell me what's going on. I said, okay, Mia said, I'm going to film with Kay to have more story about me because I don't know how I know y'all are moving forward. She says, hold on a second. Mia says, the challenge that I have is that I have to move around Gordon's mood. I know what I'm dealing with, because this is not something that's new to our household. Y'all not even in the same household right now, but I get it. In her confessional, she says, Gordon is currently going through a really bad episode, and I'm just trying to help and support him. With Kay, I know that she's in the field. She's also shows compassion and shows understanding. They show a flashback at Wendy's party of Kay saying Mia was trying to be the glue to basically hold the family together. In her confessional, Mia says, okay, Kay, drop the gems. Drop the gems. So Kay says to her, I know that you're probably used to dealing with Gordon under the circumstances, probably because you dealt with it in your marriage and you felt like I can handle it. Yo, I'm sorry, my lip is itching. Does that mean money too? Like when your hand is itching? I'm going to take it. Anyway, I'm going to make money because of my lips. Not like that, y'all, speaking. Anyway, Kay says, I know you're probably used to dealing with Gordon under the circumstances because you dealt with it in your marriage and you felt like I can handle it. I can handle it. It's no big deal, but it is a big deal. In her confessional, Kay says, despite the fact that me and Mia have our differences, so she's still saying, like, we have our differences. When it comes to mental health, I'm always going to be an open ear for that. I don't have a professional take on this. It's just the fact that I've been working with Greg. They show the flashback of Mia at Jazzy's party saying he's very much a social worker. Kay said, I've had experience with other people who are very close to me when it comes to mental health problems. I get it. So Kay says to Mia, so do you think that his behavior is being triggered for you guys? Because I seen a couple of days ago that you guys were hanging out with Ink and it seemed like all was well. They show the flashback of Mia. It was a post she had did, and it was just Ink and Gordon saying the level of joy to see my children's fathers all getting along. Mind you, her oldest son's father and her ex-husband, same person, was in that, but she didn't post him. So when she posted it, of course, she knew that the fans' reaction would be, wait, what? Your children's fathers, and we only see Ink and Gordon. And because of what Gordon brought up at the last reunion, even though Mia shut it down about Jeremiah's paternity, she was doing it to fan the flames of that. This is why I don't respect her. Because you were talking about your oldest son's father, but you purposely left him out, but had that caption so you could fan the flames. Anyway, was that before they started filming, I wonder? Or after? Anyway, um, let's get into it. Anyways, Mia says Gordon went to the bathroom, and when he came back, it was like basically something switched. Kay said it's confusing to him, and so I think it would trigger anybody. It would trigger me. He's probably feeling a bit emasculated in his mind. He thinks there's still a chance. Mia says, yeah, you're right, and it's a problem because this morning he goes, I think we should get back together and just not be intimate. Do you think Ink will be okay with that? Kay says, no, Mia, no. The only thing that is real to him is the part that he wants to believe, and that's him and Mia could be something, and it still could be happening. Mia says, I agree with you. Kay said, and this is the thing too, just to clear this up, Ink is not the daddy. She says, because I don't want to speak on that, or I'm hearing that, and I'm like, who is the daddy? Mia says, so we're going to get a test. Kay says, okay. Mia says, I personally don't believe that Jeremiah basically she don't believe Ink is Jeremiah's father, but he is stepping in and fathering this little boy. Unless there's something that we're not seeing, they send the kids to Gordon's apartment. The kids are with Gordon by themselves. Gordon seems to really love his kids. So is Gordon not being a like, even if it's one of his episodes, when he's not in an episode, he's still trying to be a father. Like, I just didn't like Ink is even if he's not his father, Ink is stepping up to be. I just. Then she says it's crazy because they're a lot alike, meaning Ink and Jeremiah. Chuck Kay looks off to the side like, girl, what am I? Yeah, you're in this scene, Kay. You are. Um, Mia says there's so much alike, girl. In her confessional, Mia says, I'm willing to take the paternity test for Ink. Gordon, on the other hand, is not in support of a paternity test right now. So Kay says, I also want to say that you should kind of break it up a bit. I don't think that a unit is appropriate, not right now. Like meaning a family unit, which, yeah, no. I guess like all of them trying to operate as one. Kay says, I think as much as you'd like that to be a normal reality, it's inappropriate because considering what you're dealing with. Kay says, I'm going to have Greg send you some tools so that you can have a mini estate checklist for yourself so you can try some of these techniques. And then you can just let me know how it's working out for you. Okay. Mia says, ooh, child. Kay says, it's going to be good. It's going to be some good stuff. Ashley went on a date with Josh, the person that she selected. They talk. They went someplace where they could play beer pong and throw axes, but I think they played beer pong. She asked him when's his last relationship. He told her when it was and that he took a break because he had been diagnosed with thyroid cancer, but he beat it. They end up kissing at the end of the scene. That's all I got for Ashley, and she was cute during the scene. No, your audio didn't cut out. Your video didn't freeze. We're about to get to the last scene of this episode. I'm gonna take a deep breath. Let me drink a little bit of the iced tea I got left. My swallow. Okay. We get to Mia and her children, Jeremiah and her daughter, Juju. I think Jeremiah is 8 or 9, Juju is 6. Mia says they're going to bake cookies. She says, do you want to take them to school tomorrow for your teachers? Didn't Mia tell us her kids were homeschooled? So in the scene, just say you're baking cookies. You see that, and that's the thing with Mia. Why you got to go extra? Do you want to take them to school tomorrow? Where, to your living room or to that room off to the side? That's the craft room that you sent them to later on in the episode when you and Gordon were talking, because they're homeschooled, right? She said, do you want to take them to school tomorrow for your teacher? Okay. Mia says, your dad says you guys have snacks at his house after school. Oh, because he's parenting them. Okay. Jeremiah says, why do you guys live in 2 separate places? Mia says, well, remember I told you we're getting a divorce? Jeremiah said, what? You didn't explain that to me. Mia says, I didn't. He says, no. She says, sorry. Jeremiah says, why are you guys getting a divorce? She said, no. That's the first thing she asked him. Remember when I told you guys, mommy and daddy are getting a divorce? Okay. She says, well, mommy and daddy can't really get along all the time. Does that make you sad? Girl, Taria. Jeremiah says yes. He says it's like a mixed feeling. And Mia says it's like a mixed feeling. There's a knock at the door and it's Gordon. Juju is so excited to see him and Jeremiah is excited as well. When Gordon comes in, he hugs the kids and he asks how they're doing. And one of them, I believe, says, I got bad feelings or something like that. If you go back and listen, Gordon gives Mia a hug and she gives him a hug and he says, nice outfit. And she says, just kicking it around the house outfit. She said, the kids want to do cookies, the same cookies that they're going to bake and take to the teachers to school tomorrow. Okay. So she says the kids wanted to do cookies. Mia said they thought it would be kind of cool if you came to help. Mia says, so Gordon, when you were walking in, the kids and I were trying to have a conversation about our relationship and things like that. So I'm glad that you're here now so you can help navigate it. Mia says, so I was just explaining to Jeremiah that just because mommy and daddy are getting a divorce does not mean that we don't love them any less. Mia thinks she's doing her big one, like an after school special here. She says, we're always going to be family, right? Then she says, so does that still make you sad, to Jeremiah? Girl, what? Jeremiah says, yes. Mia says, why? Explain to me why you're sad, baby. Jeremiah says he wants them to continue to be together, which, of course, a lot of kids want. Some kids don't, but a lot of kids want their mom and dads to be together. Mia says, you still want us to be together? And then she says, I mean, we are practically. Daddy just lives right upstairs. Gordon says, what? It isn't okay for him to be sad? I would be upset if he wasn't sad. Mia says, yeah, that's true. Gordon says, even though you and I may want this. And Mia says, oh, so you do want the divorce. I said, see, Mia is playing. Gordon says, I've resigned myself to the fact that it's coming. You've kind of shown me that's what you want. I've resigned myself to life after Mia. Mia says, it sounds like a novel. Gordon says, that's a complicated situation. Mind you, all of this discussion is happening when their kids are right there. Mia says, it is, but I think ultimately, you and I agree on putting the kids first, right? Gordon says, I think we have done a magnificent job. In her confessional, she says, it's important to have open dialogue, but it is very uncomfortable for me because they are still children and I need to preserve their innocence. Baby girl. She then says, go wash your hands. Wait, yeah, she needs to preserve their innocence. Then she tells them, go wash your hands to Juju, because I think Juju had put her hands in the cookies. Juju, them cookies is yours. Okay. We know exactly which ones that you was all touching on. In her confessional, Mia says, but I think this conversation will help us navigate the future. The cookies are in the oven. Mia says, now I'm not shading the sides of anybody's place because I think the apartments that Mia live in are beautiful. But they were like 2 steps away versus like being in the living room, even if it's an open, like my living room, dining room is an open concept. But I still might call like, hey, come here for a sec. But I don't have to call. Sade was 2 steps away. Mia says, come here, guys. I don't know why I thought that was funny. But she says, come here, guys. I have a question. So do you guys know what marriage is? You started out the conversation before Gordon got there and said, remember when I was telling you guys, Daddy and I are getting a divorce. Now you want to ask your children, do you know what marriage is? Shouldn't that have been first? So y'all know what marriage is, right? And then went into the divorce talk. That's why I get irritated. Jeremiah says, do you guys know what marriage is? Jeremiah says, yes. Mia says, okay, what is it? Jeremiah says, I don't know. Mia says, so marriage is what mommy and daddy are in. It's when you find someone that you love very, very much and you decide that you want to spend your life with them. So you guys get married and then you have babies. In the middle of that, Juju says, I have a question. Where did you guys find each other? Gordon was on it. Gordon says, in Charlotte. Mia kind of makes a face and kind of like turns around. Juju says, but what place did you see her? Gordon says, Southeast Charlotte. Child, Juju wasn't done. Juju said, but where were you? Gordon says, we met at a club. Baby. They show a flashback to the couples event that Karen had a couple years ago. And the question was, where did you meet your spouse? And Mia and Gordon both answered the strip club. Mia says, are you going to sing the song? And mind you, you talking about, did I tell y'all? Remember when I told y'all about the divorce? And Jeremiah's like, I don't remember you telling us any of that, which lets me know. Well, I'm not going to say that because kids can forget, but it just, anyway, did I tell you all about the divorce? Jeremiah says no. She then explains. Gordon gets there. You ask the kids, do they know what marriage is? Jeremiah says yes. And he says no. You explain. After you've already told the kids you're breaking this marriage up, you explain what marriage is. Then you say to Jeremiah, are you going to sing the song? She says that to Jeremiah as Juju is whispering to Gordon. Jeremiah starts singing, Mommy and Daddy sitting in a tree. Kissing. First comes love, then comes marriage. Mia says, I can't climb a tree. Jeremiah says, then comes, the baby carriage. As Juju is saying, what if Mr. Ink actually marries mommy? And Gordon's like, huh? And she says it again. What if Mr. Ink actually marries mommy? Gordon says, it's up to her. Mia says, what's that? And Juju says, nothing. Mia says, sometimes in marriage, people grow apart. Are you okay with mommy and daddy not spending forever together? Juju says, no, you can't marry Mr. Ink. You get what you get and you don't get upset. I said, oh. Mia says, okay, all right. Juju says, can I take the cookies out and put them up here on top of the stove? Mia says, we're going to let them cool down. So in her confessional, she says, coming from a 7-year-old, that's a pretty powerful statement. I think that she's right. But I also gave this man 15 years of my life. I do hope one day that she will learn to understand that. But that's going to come as she grows older. Mia takes out the cookies and says, yay, they're not burned. We're going to let them cool and decorate together. And then she says, guys, come over here. I got stuff for you to do. So she puts them in another room off to the side. She tells with a door and she tells Gordon, holy cow, they can mess up a room in 2 seconds. Gordon said they're like little tornadoes. So Gordon said, you gave them something to do. And Mia says, arts and crafts, it always works. Gordon says, my opinion is that I think we need to have another conversation with them. That one was a little disjointed. Yeah. Mia says, I know. But you know what I also feel like? I've also worked so hard to protect them, that their innocence is actually a beautiful thing. Gordon says, well, yeah, once they get to the age where it's time for them to get married, how are they going to be at life at that point in time? How are they going to view relationships if we don't help them understand what's going on and why? Then maybe they'll end up repeating the same cycles I've repeated or you've repeated. You've been married twice now and moving on to beyond number 2 to who knows what. That's not a life I want for them. This is your second marriage too, Gordon. And now you have a girlfriend per Mia. Anyway, Gordon says that's not a life I want for them. Mia does make a good point here where she says, I also want them to know their worth and their value and when it's time to leave. I mean, for anybody, that should be a thing. Yes. There's a flashback from 2023 and Mia is saying, you took my phone and locked me in a room. And he's saying, I've known you had an affair for 10 years or longer. Then in a flashback, um, wait a minute. Oh, then they flash back to that confessional where Mia is saying it has a lot to do with um him like going like him constantly like basically going off on her, but she makes a sound. And I'm like, dude, then she's at the reunion and she's like, emptying my bank account is a form of abuse. Like I wake up and all of my money is at zero. It's controlling. Back in the scene, Mia is saying, I did meet up with Kay the other day. She and her fiance, boyfriend, something, he's in the mental health industry. And so she did come to meet with me for coffee. She said that we need to build some boundaries. Gordon says, okay. Mia then says, because that's not enough of a reaction from him. Um, Mia says she thinks that you living in the building is ludicrous. Gordon says it is unusual, but it's working for me, I think. Mia says, yeah. He says, I think it may be working for you. And Mia says, that it works for me. It's for the most part. But speaking of boundaries, right? Ink thinks that I need to set more boundaries with you and that I'm not emotionally available for him because I'm always so concerned about you and what you got going on. I don't have anything else in me right now to give. In her confessional, Mia says, I need to get this divorce and stop worrying about taking care of Gordon so I can move on and heal. And that's how I intend to live the rest of my life. The kids come out of the room. I guess they've done their arts and crafts. And Mia said they're working on their science project. So she says to them, hi. And she tells them to come help ice the cookies or decorate the cookies. And they start dancing around saying, let's decorate some cookies. And scene, in the words of Candy Burris. That was the episode, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Talk to y'all later. Love you.